everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about different picture books that you can use to teach character traits. So a few weeks ago I asked what type of videos you'd be interested in seeing on this channel, and one thing that you guys were looking for were picture books to teach specific lessons in the classroom. So I thought we would start off with character traits because that's such a great thing to be teaching your students about. So I want to share with you kind of how we teach using character traits and the different picture books that you can use. And before we dive in, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and hit that red subscribe button down below because that helps me know what kind of videos you are looking for me to share on this channel. Now, let's dive into character traits. Picture books are perfect for this because they are short and they are, for the most part, self-contained. This lets you finish the books so your students can fully develop an understanding of its characters and their traits. Using picture books to teach character traits helps your students identify a deeper understanding of characters even if the author doesn't specifically state them. And picture books are perfect because, for the most part, they are short and they are self-contained. So it really helps students dive into the character and see the whole picture of that character. And teaching character traits can be a little challenging. Most of your students will be able to identify if a character is kind or if they are mean, but using character traits as a literacy tool is so much more than that. And explicitly using picture books to teach this helps your students gain a deeper understanding. And so this is great even with older students because, again, these picture books are short. They are easy for students to see the whole character, unlike in a longer chapter book or novel. But picture book authors don't really spend a lot of time diving into the character trait specifically or describing every aspect of a character. So your students will need to infer this from the text that is given and even the illustrations in the picture book. Reading between the lines to identify what the character thinks or feels, what they say and what they do, will help them understand how the events in a story change a character's traits and behaviors and how this affects the plot and the outcome of the story. So let's dive into some of the picture books that I have to teach character traits, and then I'm going to share with you some questions that you can ask your students to help them develop this and dive deeper into this concept. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a few that I pulled off the shelf, and there are so many more picture books that can help teach character traits than what I have, but this is a great collection to start with. The first book that I have is Those Shoes. Jeremy is mortified when his shoes fall apart and the school counselor gives him some pretty unstylish ones to wear. His grandmother tells him that they just can't afford those shoes, those cool shoes that everyone has, but he is successfully able to find a pair at a secondhand store, although they're too small for him to fit into. And after some reflection, Jeremy ends up passing those shoes on to a younger child who he realizes needs them even more than he does. This is a great one to talk about peer pressure, compassion, empathy, generosity, and even kindness. The next book that I have is called Last Stop on Market Street. And I know quite a few of these books I have shared on this channel before, but they are such great read alouds to use in your classroom and can be used to teach so many different concepts. In this book, a grumpy CJ and his grandmother are riding on the bus with a wonderful cast of diverse characters, and he starts to wonder aloud why he doesn't have the same things that his friends have and why he has to volunteer at the soup kitchen with his grandmother. But his Nana's straightforward and positive responses remind CJ to be thankful for what he has and how important it is to give back to others. With this book, you can talk about community, poverty, volunteering, and again, kindness and even optimism. Another great read aloud for discussing character traits in your class. This next one is a favorite of mine, The Invisible Boy. In this story, quiet, shy Brian struggles to make himself stand out and even be seen in his classroom by his peers and his teacher. But when he befriends a new student, his confidence grows and he starts to become less invisible. This is a great one for talking about loneliness, friendship, kindness, and even relationship skills with your students. This next one is another favorite of mine, After the Fall, is a retelling of Humpty Dumpty, and this one is from the egg's perspective. Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall, and even though he's able to be put back together by all of the king's men, he's still pretty nervous to get back up on that wall again, even though he really wants to. This one really promotes perspectives, growth mindset, perseverance, and courage as Humpty Dumpty conquers his fear of heights. The next book I have for discussing character traits is Amazing Grace. Grace's love of reading and role play encourages her to try out for the class play Peter Pan. But the other kids tell her that that's a boy's part. But her mama and her nana tell her that she can be anything that she wants to be. And they help her to find the confidence to not only audition for the part, but to win the part of Peter Pan in the play. This is a good one for talking about determination, self-esteem, perseverance, and enthusiasm. Another great read aloud for character traits. Another book that I have is a wonderful true story. This one is called The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read. Mary Walker was born into slavery in the mid-1800s, but at the age of 116, she learned how to read. A great story about perseverance and knowing that you're never too old to learn. Another great read aloud for character traits is Ada Twist, Scientist. Ada's mind is full of so many ideas and questions, and she really just wants to know how everything in the world works. But when her science experiments start to go a little too far, her parents banish her to the thinking chair. Will this cause her to stop thinking, to stop trying her experiments? Another great book about perseverance and curiosity and following your passions. So that was just a small collection of books that you can use to teach character traits in your classroom. Like I said, there are so many more, but that's a great place to get started. And I also mentioned that I had some questions that you can use to discuss character traits, especially after reading some of these books that I just shared. So here are a few that you can ask your students during this lesson. Describe the character's character traits. What is the evidence that shows those traits? How did the character's behavior and actions affect other characters? What caused the character to change? Describe the challenges faced by a certain character. How did they overcome them? What were the most important changes in a character? Why do you think this? What prompted the character to change? What do you think the character is thinking or feeling? What do you think the character is going to do next? How will their actions affect the story? And again, those are just a few questions to get you started with talking about character traits in your classroom. And if there is a specific lesson that you are teaching with your class and you would like picture books to go along with it, leave me a comment down below and I can pull together some book titles for you to share with your class. But I hope this video and this book list was helpful for you and that you'll be able to read some of these books aloud in your classroom. Have a great week.